Isaac Hernandez.
I'm Holly McClure.
And this is Faith on Film, a program designed to keep you aware on everything that's happening in the world of faith and family entertainment. Holly, we got another exciting show again this week because I know that we're going to give people a glimpse at season 3 of The Chosen.
We are. Another exclusive look because I got a chance to go to Midlothian, Texas, and I got a chance to go on the set and interview people, the stars of the show, as well as the writers and the PR people, and we got to tour the whole set. So again, this is another side of it that you haven't seen because these are interviews I did, and I think people are going to be really excited to see what they had to say. I interviewed from The Chosen, Elizabeth Tabish, who plays Mary, Giavanni Cairo, who plays Thaddeus, George Xanthis, who plays John the Beloved, and Brandon Potter, who plays Quintus. And Ryan, beside from Dallas Jenkins, who also writes it, the co-writers of the show are Ryan Swanson and Tyler Thompson. I want to get those names right. And they're going to give us a glimpse of all the episodes. So I think you'll find it very interesting and some things that maybe you haven't heard anywhere else before.
I look forward to it. Well, without further ado, let's go on to behind the scenes of The Chosen Season 3.
And how has it changed your life as far as coming from acting in the background that you came from and, you know, going into this kind of a role? I mean, it's got to have changed it in some way.
Every time I have been recognized, it's been lovely. People are so sweet and always very hesitant to interrupt whatever I'm doing, which is usually, I think I've gotten recognized at Disneyland more than anywhere else. So it's a joyful thing. Yeah, in my life, it's brought me so much joy. I was planning on quitting acting right before I booked it. I was not successful. I was barely making ends meet, and this show has you know, gave me the role of my dreams. I'm able to, I have a, you know, as an actor, to be able to say, like, I have a job. it's you know, constant. It's rare, you know. It's relieving to know that this show is here for me and provides me this creative outlet, this creative expression that, you know, to play this character that means so much to me. In a lot of ways, I've been inspired by the character and influenced by her, and I've wanted to grow because of her. So, like, the effect it has had on me has been just sort of across the board and just wonderful.
There was that saying, the phrase, "What would Jesus do?" And I'm thinking, in your case, what would Mary do? Or is there ever any time when you're like, I want to do something, and you think,
sure,
oh, what would Mary do? That kind of the character that you're playing.
Yeah, no, I think it's now that I've been playing her for a number of years, like, it's just sort of a layer in my mind of who she is. And I think about, you know, how my life is going to influence how I play her. And so that makes me, I think, even like more conscientious than normal of, you know, wanting to be, you know, aware of other people's pain, aware of being sensitive to others, or reaching out in ways that I think normally I would have not, to be honest.
So far, up to season 3, what is your favorite scene? Do you have a favorite?
Yeah, I think my absolute favorite is returning to the tent with Jesus and apologizing, the forgiveness after she runs away for a drink. Her returning that scene was really special and challenging, and I wanted to get it right, but it was easy to do because the writing is just so human and realistic, and I could identify with her a lot in that scene. I'm eternally grateful to the writers for making such a female character that is challenging in a lot of ways. She's emotionally very complicated, and has all these psychological issues from the past that she's sort of, overcoming over these years, over the course of these seasons. And that's, I think, a really special and rare, element in a character that I'm really grateful to be able to play.
Has been working with Dallas as a director.
He's the best. He's such an actor's director. He's intuitive. He knows the right things to say to unlock certain emotions. Whenever I feel blocked, he knows exactly what to say to me. He'll help me recall things, scenes from the past that bring me back to where I need to be emotionally. So he's very, very, it's funny, he's so sensitive to us when it's needed. And then other times he's just so funny and really lighthearted and makes it really fun to be on set.
Are you enjoying that that's the way that this is being portrayed rather than the typical Bible movies that you probably grew up watching, or a lot of us did?
Of course, because I think the thing is, what The Chosen does so well is they make it so relatable and so human for the viewers that are watching, which I think we all yearn for when we're watching something. We can look at each one of these disciples and we see little pieces of ourselves in them. So whether it's Thaddeus being a peacemaker, being like, oh, I can see myself in those scenarios, or I know a friend who's like that, or you're seeing Nathaniel in season 2 crying under the fig tree to God and saying, do you see me? I'm trying everything I possibly can in my life right now to make it work, and I don't feel like I'm being seen. Those little things, I think we can relate to those emotions that these characters are going through, and I think that's something that's been missing in this type of media for a long time. Right. So I think that's bridging the gap between no matter what your faith is, no matter what your stance on different circumstances is, we want something to relate to, and we really can with these characters on The Chosen.
Has it been interesting for you, for your friends in the acting business, family, to say you're portraying this character? Do you get any interesting comments from, siblings, cousins, mothers, father, going, you're portraying who?
Well, yeah, they'll get that, but at the same time, my friends who I would never deemed as religious or into this type of media is starting to catch on, which I think that's really interesting. I have friends from back home that they're not religious at all, but they're saying, okay, yeah, I gave it a shot, watched the first couple episodes, and I'm hooked now. Because I relate so much. And the one thing too is they're like, I never thought of Jesus like that before. I always thought him on this pedestal that you can't really touch and I can't really relate to. But when they're like, I see Jesus dancing with his disciples at a wedding, or I see him cracking jokes with his disciples, or you can see him feeling pain or doubt in certain moments, that's the Jesus I would want to communicate with. Right. That's the Jesus I feel like existed. It's someone that we can relate to, that we can have a conversation with. Mm-hmm. So I think bridging the gap between whether you're a believer or you're not a believer, whatever your faith is, we're looking for that humanistic quality. And The Chosen's able to do that so beautifully.
Favorite scene that you've done from all 3 seasons so far? Season's great, but so far.
Oh, man.
One of your favorite ones that you just like?
One of my favorites is the opening of season 2. It's the flash forward to where one of our brothers, one of our disciples, had been martyred. He has passed away, so we were at his funeral, and we're all recounting our first times we've met Jesus, and this is years past the crucifixion. And me personally, I was going through a tough time in my life to where my Uncle Tony, who was like a hero to me, he had passed away when we were filming about a month prior to filming this scene. And this scene was very emotional because we're recounting one of our brothers passing. And I was in the room with George, who plays John, and little James, played by Jordan Ross. And I remember before the scene, it was such an intimate small room. We all grabbed each other's hands, and it's nonverbal, but we all knew we were there for each other. It was just a safe space to be vulnerable. And that whole day, I remember we were just hugging each other, giving ourselves the space that we needed. Yeah. And get choked up thinking about it, but that moment meant a lot to me, and I know other castmates were going through some stuff as well. So that's a moment I'll never forget because it's still emotional just watching it.
Did your uncle know that you were playing this role in this show?
I got to see him briefly a few months before he passed. We went down to North Carolina where him and my aunt lives, and we watched the Wedding at Cana episode, and he was proud. He was proud.
Oh,
yeah.
That means even more, doesn't it?
Means a lot. It just trying to do it justice for him and for everyone watching.
What would Thaddeus do?
What would Thaddeus do? That's a good question.
Do you ever have times in your personal life where you're like, well, what would he do?
I love that question because he truly has inspired me to go deeper in my relationships because it matters so much to him to let people know that they are seen. In the show, he's letting Matthew know that. Matthew's not really great at communicating a lot of the time. He feels like an outsider, but Thaddeus sees him. And that's made me want to see people more deeply in my life, deep in my connection with family, with friends. So anytime I feel that I'm not doing that, Thaddeus keeps me in check to be like, go deeper in your connection, go deeper in your relationship. So, I have Thaddeus and I have the Chosen to thank for that.
What has been your favorite scene of the season so far that you've done? One that's particularly that you've loved or touched you and, that kind of stands out?
Feeding of the 5,000 was that's more of a profound thing. I always say you're a television actor, so you have to keep in your frame for screen, but I've had experience in theater, so when you're there in front of 5,000 people, it's unlike any theater production you've ever been to. So you've got a live audience, but then they all cheer after every take. So it's like you're a rock star. So what a crazy amount of emotions to kind of go through, and it's so enjoyable. I personally loved it. Like I know I was with Shahar, and Shahar is very serious on screen, but even he was just like, oh my goodness, like this is so much fun. We were all just having a great time that day. I think when you say that the way that it's written, Dallas, Tyler, and Ryan have done such a good job from the start. When I got that script, it's not called the Jesus, it's called the Chosen. Now, Jesus is really important, but it is called the Chosen for a reason. They get to focus not on one perspective of Jesus looking out, but 15, 16, 17 perspectives looking in, one of which is Mary Magdalene, maybe somebody we don't explore as much. She has, in my opinion, one of the most important lines of the whole series. Before I was one way, now I'm another. Thing that happened in between was him. It's just crazy, and when you say that familiarity, we show Jesus coming down to Simon's level when the miracle of the fish happened. Dallas said that's going to be controversial, but people have loved it. Jesus is on our level. He's familiar with us. He's making jokes. He's dancing with the disciples. Now, from a spiritual and religious standpoint, that is important because the message is going to be received, but also from a filmmaking perspective, like as professional television, that is so important because if you think about, I put the image in your mind, just see Jesus as the wedding of Cana dancing with all of us, and then imagine what's going to happen in season 6 and 7. It shatters me every single time as sometimes George infiltrates John, and that's sometimes why you can get emotional watching it. But it's just, it's such a bit, you can't get anything like that with any other series. You can't. I'm never going to experience that again, I don't think. They've cast so well, and I'm a lot like John. The way that they've written John, they've done such a good job, and they take bits and pieces from his book, and they can, like I said about Salome, they do that about John as well. He's young, he's impetuous, he's emotional, then he needs to maybe simmer down a little bit. What would John do? Probably, something's wrong with his meal. He's just like, excuse me. And then Jesus is next to him going, just calm down.
Does that affect you and how you act in your life? Do you ever have those John moments for you? 100%.
Absolutely. And what's great and cathartic about the show is that, and this is a bit of a spoiler for season 3, but, there's going to be a moment where John is being told to simmer down by Jesus, as it happened in season 2. And it's cathartic for me, and it's a bit of therapy, because maybe when that happens in the show, it kind of teaches me in real life to simmer down. And also, Jesus essentially is saying to him, trust the process. John wants to be a leader right now. He wants to be, you know, he's saying, I'm the beloved right now. Wait, trust the process, surrender, as Jesus says. And yeah, so in life, you can be impetuous as John, but you can also calm yourself down as he usually needs to do.
There's that saying that we laugh about now. What would Jesus do? Well, in your life, what would Quintus do? Do you ever have those moments where you think, how would my character react to things in your real life?
Oh boy, yes, and then I do the opposite. Yeah.
That's great.
If someone cuts me off on the highway, like what would Quintus do? Have them executed, right? That's not. I'm gonna do the other thing, you know.
Congratulations, because you've done something that a lot of people have wanted to do and tried to do for years and years. Made the Bible fun, and made the New Testament fun, and made Jesus fun.
Oh, thank you.
And I think that's been remarkable. I love to see from the beginning of what you've done and following all the way, how it's progressed and how people are finding it so relatable. So good job, guys. I mean, you know, and I know it's kind of fun for you because there's some characters that have not really been explored, and then there's some that have, so I'm sure that that's hard. How are you hoping to reach the younger generation with The Chosen in the next few seasons? How are you hoping to, even as the story gets deeper and more involved, bring in that younger generation who doesn't go to church, doesn't read the Bible, and doesn't have any religion?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a great question, and it is part of our organizing principle that we want the story of Jesus to stand on its own as a story. We want it to be engaging on a human level for people who have been faithful all their lives, or people who are just walking in the door today. We want the stories of their human conflicts, the obstacles that they overcome, to be relatable, and we want them to be universal. So we're looking to, you know, we want to be non-exclusive, but share the authentic Jesus in a way that's disruptive, that's fun, that's personal, and relatable. And so our first and overriding principle is to do a good TV show. And, you know, to the extent young people are watching TV, we hope that we can enter that zeitgeist and make waves on the merits of our story. Now, we just happen to have the best source material of all time, so there's a lot to plumb, but yeah, it starts with the story.
Favorite scene that each of you, your very favorite scene, if you have one, that you've written, maybe together or separate, but what was your favorite scene? Out of season 1, 2, and part of 3.
I mean, we write all the scripts together.
Okay.
So there's nothing that my hand is on more than Tyler's or Dallas's. So I would say that the sequence, the intersection of events in episode 4, season 2, that lead Simon the Zealot to be witness to the miracle his brother Jesse has received just before he's about to commit murder in the name of you know, his tradition, this fourth tradition of Judaism, and that sequence was not only so rewarding on the page to get these storylines to kind of come together, to track back and see where they had to start in order to really climax at exactly the same point, but it was a filming challenge. It was a challenge for our actors. We were using a new set. We went to Utah for that. And so, you know, when a thing like that comes together, it's so rewarding, it's memorable, and you want to recreate it again. Or, you know, you use the bones of it and make something new from that. So that's my favorite one.
I love so much of The Chosen. A scene that stands out that we had a lot of fun working on, is Jesus and Nicodemus on the roof, adapted from John's Gospel. Just because it was so rewarding when it was finally done. It was a challenge to bring to put on the page, just because it's a very dense conversation to talk about being born again. And Nicodemus is saying, I can't do that because my mother has passed, and like taking it super literal and things like that. Even to take such a serious scene as Nicodemus and Jesus on the roof and infuse it with some humor, some levity, and then ultimately to end it by referencing a passage from Proverbs. Like there was just so much going on in that scene, and so many ideas culminating that I'll just always be excited and proud of that scene.
I think the opportunity to explore these characters from a personal space, because we are obviously speaking into them and how they may have reacted to various challenges from a personal place. And so we get to place ourselves in the context of being with Jesus through all of this. So then it necessarily goes the other way too, where we then leave our work on the page and we imagine that Jesus is there too. So it is not only, it's an interactive process. It's a more present thing for me every day, and it forces me back into the Word for 8 hours as a compulsory part of my job. And then as I leave it, I think that, like as we're hearing from viewers, the show makes it come alive, and it certainly has done that for us too.
What is going to be your most challenging season to write?
6. Do you want to know why?
I would like to, if you want to tell. I just am curious what's coming.
There's this huge section of the Bible where Jesus is tortured and killed, and we know that because we've made these characters personal and three-dimensional, that it's going to be painful for everybody. So we've come up with an approach that I think will help every episode to let people know what's happening factually, truthfully, and true to the Word. But also not focus on the torturous aspects of it. Mm-hmm. And so to do that, we need to be creative and look at the breadth of the story, all of the characters involved, and check in with everybody so we know what everybody's feeling at the critical moment when that we know will be hard for viewers. And so we want to treat that very sensitively. And that's going to be hard.
I think actually the 7th season will be difficult because everyone sort of knows what happens after this death, and it's like, how do you make that special? It's not a surprise, So I'm really looking forward to exploring not just that event, but like how the people who experienced it related to each other and to Jesus in the aftermath. That's what I think is going to be challenging, but ultimately rewarding.
The life of the chosen, is it going to go on past season 7 in a different way? Is there any way you can give hints on what you guys are thinking about?
We are definitely building out the chosen universe. We're very intentionally doing that. We're working on maybe something for children, which is really exciting. And we also have a number of other pieces in development where we don't want to just stop at the chosen. We're really exploring what can this thing look like, God? What are you trying to build out for the next several decades? We're here for the long haul, Holly.
Good. That's encouraging to know and exciting because people don't know. And, we all know the story and how it ends in the New Testament, but you'd like to think that there's something that's going to go on that's doing the same kind of thing this show is doing. So that's good to know. Do you have any favorite from season 1, 2, and part of 3 that any favorite show or specific scene that it's always close to your heart that you love to tell people about?
So many. I think from season 2, it was episode 3 of season 2, Jesus has been healing all day long, and we watch as the disciples are bickering more and more and more and more while he's over here healing. So it gets to this climactic moment where the disciples are almost about to fight. They're so angry at each other, and they're so diverse, and they're so opposed in their worldviews. And then we see Jesus stumble in to the point of just utter exhaustion because he has just poured himself out for people. And he stumbles into bed, and he silences the whole camp, and he just worships and thanks God as he drifts off to sleep. And it was in that moment of just like, are we going to keep fighting and bickering and talking and analyzing, or are we going to actually go do the work of the kingdom? Are we actually going to go be the hands and the feet? And that was we had one doing the work and others just talking about it. And that changed my life.
Wow, Holly, those were just some amazing interviews you were able to get.
Thank you. You know, I loved interviewing Mary and hearing her opinions. And then John the Beloved, I love his Thaddeus. What an interesting guy that he played character he plays in, man. And then the writers who gave us an inside scoop on what's to come in the future seasons. I love that.
I loved your question about what would Jesus do if, or yeah, what would you do? How did you word that? What would Jesus do if?
You know, there's the saying, what would Jesus do? And instead, if you had your character, a disciple or Mary, what would Thaddeus do? What would Mary do? What would John the Beloved do? I mean, certainly their characters have had to influence them, and they were all commenting how it had. So I thought it'd be an interesting perspective.
I thought it was just a great look again into the personality of their characters.
I thought it was too, and so different, you know, from what you're seeing on screen, and then what you're hearing off, but how it's affected them personally, especially for those that really weren't maybe strong Christians before, but in getting into the character, it's really affected and touched their lives. And I don't know, there was other great answers. We didn't have time for them all, but at least that was a little bit of a look at some of them. You know, Isaac, I couldn't even show you all of what I saw. I mean, we couldn't even show it on the show today. But for those who are interested, you'll probably be seeing it in season 3 and on. When you're watching The Chosen, you're going to be looking at all of what I saw and more. So it's going to be pretty amazing. And, you know, remember, folks, you can download the app for free. So remember, you can watch this show for free. You can let your friends watch it, your relatives watch it. You can share it with coworkers, whatever. This is a way to do ministry and share for free. How much you could do that?
Oh my goodness. There's very little out there that you can watch for free, except maybe old movies, old TV shows, but new stuff like The Chosen for free. I think that's amazing that the people over at The Chosen have decided to make this available to the world for free.
I agree, Isaac. I agree.
All righty. Well, also don't forget that you can not only download their app, but you can go to YouTube and get our shows also for free. Hey, there's another freebie.
Another freebie.
Yeah,
our
very
show.
simple. Our show's for free. Just simply go to youtube.com/@FaithOnFilmTV. That's youtube.com/@FaithOnFilmTV. And you can watch all our past shows. And the cool thing is that you'll get notified when there's new shows that come up, which, of course, we got a lot of new shows planned out, don't we, Holly?
That's right. We sure do. We sure do. And be sure and hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Help us, folks, by doing that. If you're watching this on network, or if you're listening to it streaming, or if you're watching it on social media, whatever, we appreciate you watching and supporting us. But please, if you could go to YouTube and just hit subscribe, that really helps us. So thank you for that.
And share it with your friends. Let them know all about Faith on Film TV. And of course, Holly, we want to hear from them too, don't we? We want to find out how they like the show, especially these chosen shows. So you can do so by writing us at faithonfilmtv@gmail.com. That's faithonfilmtv@gmail.com. Of course, you can always follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at faithonfilmtv. Holly, we're done with today's show.
It went so quickly, and there was so much more to tell, but oh well.
I know.
It was fun though, Isaac, wasn't it?
It was. Well, Holly and folks, we'll see you next week.